Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya, and today I am doing a video that's a little bit different. It's just a really kind of, hopefully not too long, talk through about what it's like after you become a Muslim. So a lot of times I see a lot of videos about like your reversion story, what brought you to Islam, you know, that moment of acceptance or that moment of understanding, alhamdulillah. And they're beautiful, I love them. And then you don't often see just kind of like your experience videos of what it's been like. And I think because a lot of times reversion stories come from newer Muslims and you rarely get to hear the ones, you know, from like 20 years later, like myself. So I became a Muslim when I was 19. I believe that was in 2001. I don't know. I'm 40. It's 2025. Yeah, so I accepted Islam when I was 19 years old, alhamdulillah. I want to say I accepted it. Anyways, that's not the story. So what that moment was like, let's start there. When you decide you accept Islam, Islam is not a religion where you just say like, I'm a Muslim, you know, at least not for a woman. Not for a man either, really, but for a woman, your outward appearance shows you've submitted to Allah just as much as your character will. And I knew that, and that was one of the biggest things I think that a lot of us revert women consider when you're becoming a Muslim. You will eventually, or hopefully one day, don the hijab, and you understand after reading everything about the hijab and everything, what it means. You understand the weight of it, the responsibility of it, and the beauty of it. But it's difficult to know the honor in it and the respect from it until you actually wear it. And that is one of the biggest things that I'll say for any sister, that wearing the hijab is scary for sure, but it's just gonna transform you as a believer, inshallah. It really solidified in my heart this decision and my devotion to submitting to Allah, and doing it publicly that way, accepting and wearing the hijab. It kind of gave me a strength about the religion that I didn't know I needed, because I was the type of person that believed like, you know, I'm gonna do what I want to do, you know, but I didn't realize how nervous I felt, and that was just Satan. That was just Satan. How nervous I felt about wearing the hijab. But yeah, I was ready. I loved it. I've always believed that the hijab just beautifies a woman, but the respect that it's given me is just so much different from both family members and non-family members. Strangers are opening doors for you. They're generally kinder to you. People will notice you and they'll no longer curse in front of you. Children kind of like ooh and ah and question and ask, and little girls are like, you know, what does your hair look like? And when they find out your hair is long or pretty or short or this or that, they're just like, well, why do you want to cover your hair? And you know, the hijab is just such a beautiful part of being a Muslim woman. And I may do a video all on its own about just how I feel about just my love affair with the hijab. So let's see. So changing of friends. Some Muslims, some reverts may not have this issue, but I think a lot of believers have this issue, whether they are reverts or not. when you devote yourself to Allah, there are people in your life, whether they are family members or not, that will encourage you to do so, and then there are some of those who will discourage you. And so those who discourage you eventually, by the grace of God, are weaned out and away from you. And sometimes those people are some of the closest people to you, your parents, your siblings, a spouse, a child. But I'm just reminded of the story of Noah when he was on the boat, alayhi salam, and he was asking Allah about his son, that Allah said that he would save all of his family, and Allah responded by telling him that he was not of your family, and so I'm always reminded from that story that just because someone is your blood relative doesn't mean that they're your family. And there are some people that you love dearly that will pull you away from your Creator, and they're just not the ones for you, no matter how much you love them, and vice versa. There are people who you may not stand generally, but whenever you're around, you notice you pray more with them, or you read Quran more, or you're just more inclined to that which is better. And so you find yourself frequenting, their surroundings or whatever because of that. And so Islam has definitely changed my friends for the better. Yeah, I don't have very many friends. I don't have very many friends, alhamdulillah. But I'm happy. I've always been an introvert anyway. So let me see. Family dynamics. So I guess that kind of like correlates with what I just said. Your family dynamic essentially is the same. The ones who bring you, excuse me, I think I'm coming down with a cold. The ones who bring you closer to Allah, you'll notice that, you get closer to them, or at least the ones who don't try and hinder you. Maybe your family is like mine and that they're not Muslim at all, any of them. But some of them are just kind naturally. Some of them are just loving naturally. Some of them are just not judgmental, and alhamdulillah for those family members who are that way, because I can't imagine having to completely rid myself of my entire family, because I love them, even the ones who have not been so loving all the time. So cross-cultural marriage. So this is something that we reverts generally deal with, especially women for some reason. I don't know the statistics, but I know from the stories that I've listened to, most of us revert women will marry men outside of our culture. What do I mean by that? I'm an American woman. My husband is a Nigerian man. Wow. I would say of anything in changing my faith that has been more transformative, it's just marrying someone who is not from where I'm from. I've met Muslims who were born and raised here, American Muslims, and they're a lot like myself. They just have an Islamic perspective on a lot of things, but a lot of things they see a lot like me. My husband is not like that. Even though his mother is American, she's born and raised here in America, but his father wasn't. He was raised over in Nigeria and didn't come here until he was an adult. So he is a Nigerian man, and dealing with where he's from specifically, he's a Kanuri Nigerian, and they have one of the oldest monarchies, one of the oldest cultures in the world, and their traditions are deep and well rooted, and the religion is also deep within that culture. But a lot of times, like many cultures that have accepted Islam as its majority religion, cultural norms supersede religious ruling and policies. What do I mean by that? Ideas like women can't drive, ideas like women can't work. These all come from cultural norms and traditions and cultural interpretations of a religion that has no culture. So it has its own culture, rather. And so, alhamdulillah, for the difficulties that my husband and I have faced with regards to just trying to understand each other, and they have been very difficult at times, because those things have forced us to go back to the source, go back to the religion to confirm who's right, who's wrong, which path we should and we shouldn't take. And I'm sure he would agree. It's been a huge blessing. It's been a huge trial, but like most huge trials, it's been a huge blessing. And alhamdulillah, we've been married for 20 years now this year, and we're just like, wow, you know, like the time flies, because it doesn't feel that way, but it does feel like I've learned 20 years worth of things. Like relationship and marriage and such is just, I feel like I see it so different sometimes from the people who have been married for like, you know, 3 and 4 years and stuff like that. My kids. Okay. All right, I don't want to make this video too long, so let me just try and get a few more in here. So I talked a little bit about the cross-cultural marriage, and I think I'll do a whole video on that with my husband, because I think that's a big one that more couples who are in it should kind of like address. So yeah, just, I don't remember what I said. I hope I said something that made sense. Let's see. Oh, and so family dynamic. So, well, not family dynamic. What I mean by that is like raising our kids. Definitely, he and I have different perspectives on what, let me say this. We had different perspectives on raising kids. When we had our first son, I had never been to Nigeria, so the only thing of Nigeria I knew was from here. I used to watch a lot of Nigerian movies, stuff like that. 2009, I go to Nigeria. I get to experience a little bit. I go with my son, come back, and then in 2014, we moved there, and I lived there. After living in Nigeria, my perspective on and engaging with many Nigerians and Nigerian families, my perspective on raising children changed drastically. Now, I feel like I was raised pretty well for the most part. I was raised by someone who was not my mother's generation, but the time before hers. And so I was raised very, very strict, very traditionally. And so I feel like I had a really good idea of what it meant to really properly raise a child. But there are certain things that I came to understand. Okay. So, just observing a Nigerian household ran by someone who people admired her way of raising her children. Her children are some of the most well-mannered, well-behaved, academically successful, devout Muslims you will ever meet. So I'm not giving credit only to the mom, but auntie and mommy, my husband's mom, I mean, their kids are next level. Like, they're not rude. Like, I can't explain it to you. Just like people who get up in the morning, get dressed, pray, make their own breakfast, clean up after themselves. Like, these are people who are entirely independent by the age of like 11. Like, washing their own clothes and stuff. So I started to lean into my husband's way of raising the kids for the most part. At least I think so. Maybe he doesn't think that I did. I wonder what he would say. But I started to just kind of align my way of thinking with his. And I also noticed like his way of thinking aligned with the religion. You not oversleeping. You get up after Fajr, you know, you're moving your body, you're eating, you know, not overeating, just knowing, living the Sunnah lifestyle even as children, and just raising them in that manner. I just felt like top tier. Like that's what I wanted for my kids. Obviously, I wanted my kids to know different languages and read Quran in Arabic and things like that. So I saw all of these benefits to being with my husband and doing things the way that he does them. I don't know about any other woman, but it's hard out here nowadays for women to really find a good man. And a good man, I mean in that a man who does not mind being a man who does not mind taking care of a woman, a man who is not afraid to say that I want to teach a woman, a man who is not afraid to confess to her that I would like for you to allow me to lead you, if that's okay with you. You know, a man who is, you know, respectful. Like, we want these men. And it's not so easy to raise these men without a good example. You know, we can give them all the love and support and guidance, but if they don't have an example, just like us women, it's kind of hard to formulate that person in your mind without seeing them. Or that person might seem unrealistic to you. I say all that to say, when you're choosing a husband or dating someone or whatever, ask yourself, is this the type of person you want your child to become? Just ask yourself that. And if you want better for your child, then give them better. That's what I would say. Because, you know, what you want in a man will certainly change. What you can provide for yourself will definitely change over time. Yeah, but there are certain things you can't change. And when it comes to a spouse, you don't want to be changing them up. Forgiveness is a huge part of marriage. I'm not doing a marriage video, but girl, when I do. All right, that's the end of this video. I hope it's not too long. I'm gonna do some editing and then I'm gonna try and get it out ASAP, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Bye guys.